Good afternoon. The Senate Committee on Natural Resources will now come to order. Welcome to those in Carson City online and by phone. And will our Secretary please proceed to call the roll?
Senator Brooks. Here. Senator Goycochea. No. Senator Hansen.
Here.
Senator Scheibel.
Here.
Chair Donate.
And I am here. Thank you. Welcome everyone, members and presenters. Please remember to mute your microphone when you are not speaking. Now that we are in the committee room for the first time, please mute any cell phones and any other electronic devices as well. And for all individuals present in our meeting room, please always keep your face covering on and maintain social distance. As you know, the legislative building has now closed to the public, but it is opening up gradually and with necessary safety precautions. So it is a bit of a hybrid now with virtual and in-person participation. As in previous sessions, all committee-related information is available on the Nevada Electronic Legislative Information System, commonly referred to as NELIS, which is accessible from the legislature's website. There are multiple ways that you can engage with the committee, and this includes registering to participate in a committee meeting through the NELIS system, submitting written testimony to the committee's email address or fax number listed on the agenda, sharing your opinion via the legislature's opinion application on NELIS, or viewing meetings through the NELIS or on the legislature's YouTube channel. To testify on a bill or provide public comment during the 2021 legislative session, members of the public must first register for the meeting that you would like to participate in. And similar to previous sessions, testimony and public comment may be limited due to time constraints. When you are on the phone line, please pay attention to which bill is being considered and when bills are listed on the meeting's agenda, and follow the verbal prompts provided by Broadcast and Production Services. If you need any assistance with any of these processes, or if you'd like to receive the electronic notification of the committee's agenda and minutes, always feel free to please contact our committee manager at the committee email listed above on the agenda. And today, the committee will be hearing 4 bills. We have Assembly Bill 31, 34, 74, and 75. So with that, we can go ahead and begin with Assembly Bill 31. So I will go ahead and open the hearing on Assembly Bill 31. This measure revises provisions governing the Nevada Petroleum Products Inspection Act. And I believe we have Ms. Cadence Matijevic, Administrator of the Division of Consumer Equitability, State Department of Agriculture, who is on the Zoom, ready to present AB 31. So please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman Donate, members of the Senate Committee on Natural Resources. My name is Cadence Matijevic, and I have the privilege of serving as Administrator for the Division of Consumer Equitability at the Nevada Department of Agriculture. Thank you for the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 31 to you today. In keeping with the Department of Agriculture's strategic plan goal of modernizing our statutory and regulatory authority, this measure was prepared primarily as a cleanup bill for NRS Chapter 590, which governs motor vehicle fuels, petroleum products, and antifreeze. The bill would update certain outdated language and definitions, particularly where those updates create conformance with standards set forth by the International Organization for Standardization, or by ASTM International. Additionally, the bill revises certain authorities currently set forth in the chapter, provides certain new authority to the Board of Agriculture, sets forth additional duties for the State Sealer of Consumer Equitability, and addresses matters relating to enforcement of the provisions of the chapter, particularly those where petroleum products are found to be in violation of established standards and specifications. Section 1 of the bill adds authority for the Board of Agriculture to adopt specifications of diesel exhaust fluid, commonly known as DEF or DEF, to NRS 590. Diesel exhaust fluid is a fluid that is part of the emission controlling catalytic conversion system in modern diesel vehicles. As diesel exhaust fluid has become more commonplace in the market, it is reasonable to expect that the product that consumers purchase meets established specifications. However, diesel exhaust fluid is not a petroleum product, and as such does not currently fall under the existing authority granted by the Nevada Petroleum Products Inspection Act. We believe that it is appropriate for regulation of this fluid to be included as part of the Inspection Act and as part of the duties of the State Sealer of Consumer Equitability. In keeping with the authority established in Section 1, Sections 2, 4, 9, 10, 11, and 12 add language referencing diesel exhaust fluid into various sections of the Nevada Petroleum Products Inspection Act. Sections 13 and 14 make changes to NRS Chapter 561 related to the authority for fees which may be charged for laboratory testing of diesel exhaust fluid and the account to which such fees must be deposited. Section 3 amends NRS 590.020, updating certain existing definitions, including amending the definition of alternative fuels to include certain types of fuel which had previously been defined in Nevada Revised Statutes, Chapter 486A, but were repealed with the passage of Senate Bill 42 of the legislative session, and it also adds a definition for diesel exhaust fluid. Section 5 amends NRS 590.071 to grant authority to the State Board of Agriculture for enforcement of regulations of diesel exhaust fluid, aviation fuel, and petroleum heating products. In addition, this section grants authority to the board to adopt regulations imposing fines for providing of regulations of standards for diesel exhaust fluid, aviation fuel, and petroleum heating products. Section 6 amends 590.073 to remove authority over establishing specification for aviation fuels from the state sealer of consumer equitability. Historically, as authority for establishing specifications for different petroleum products was added to this chapter, some authority was granted to the board and others to the state sealer of consumer equitability. This change is meant to provide consistency in such authority, granting it exclusively to the Board of Agriculture. This change will also streamline the process when changes are to specifications to products established within NAC, Nevada Administrative Code, Chapter 590, are proposed. Section 7 amends NRS 590.090 to provide authority to the Board of Agriculture to regulate home heating products, not including liquefied petroleum gas and natural gas, and grants authority for the board to impose administrative penalties for violation of NRS 590.090. Section 8 amends NRS 590.100 to include reference to diesel exhaust fluid and also adds and strengthens authority for the state sealer of consumer equitability to take actions when regulated products are found to be out of compliance, including requiring documentation on the final disposition of non-compliant product. This documentation is necessary so that the state sealer of consumer equitability may confirm that non-compliant product has not simply been relocated to another retail facility and offered for sale to the public. Section 8 also provides that it is unlawful for any person to hinder, obstruct, or prevent the state sealer of consumer equitability, the appointees thereof, or any member of the Nevada Highway Patrol in the performance of their duties to enforce the provisions of the Nevada Petroleum Inspections Act, and that access must be provided during regular business hours to property or equipment for the purpose of enforcing such provisions. Section 15 provides transitory authority during the period in which certain authorities and responsibilities are transferred or established pursuant to this bill. And finally, Section 16 sets forth the effective dates for the bill. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my presentation. Thank you again for the opportunity to present the bill to your committee today.
Thank you so much, Ms. Matievich. Do we have any questions from any of the committee members on this bill? Let's start with Senator Goycochea.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I've just got one question going through the bill, Cadence. On sub 11 of section 3, I believe it is, it refers to pure water, but I don't see how that would, I don't see any effort or any regulation pertaining to that. Can you explain what that is, what the sub 11 is all about?
For the record, Cadence Matievich, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Senator Goycochea, I apologize. I'm not sure that I'm seeing. Are you looking at section 11 of the bill on page 13 or 14?
I apologize, and parts of the bill, I'm looking at AB 31, and it was the first reprint coming across from the assembly, But in this, yeah, and
Yes.
it doesn't make any sense to me. We walk through section 3, and it floats right along until I get to, it was section 9, but now it is sub 11. Pure water means water that is very low in inorganic. Am I the only one that has this?
My apologies, Senator. I thought you were meaning section 11 of the bill.
No, I'm sorry,
you were
sub
referring to-
11 of 3. I'm sorry.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Senator Goycochea. So this definition would be included here for purposes of if we are adding it into the definition of any of the other items, which we are. If you look back on page 5 of the bill at line 21, in the definition for diesel exhaust fluid, we refer to pure water, and that is necessary as we establish the definitions and criteria for diesel exhaust fluid to have those provisions. And so then we further add to the definitions what we mean by pure water. And so that is the reason for that definition.
Thank you, Cadence. I didn't realize you had to put that in to have the 67 3/4 pure water. I thought water was water. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's fine at this point. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator Goycochea. Any other questions from any other committee members? I don't seem to see any. So I think we can go ahead and proceed as usual. And I know we have a few folks that want to go ahead and do to speak when we get to testimony. So we'll start in order. So we will go to the phone lines to continue testimony. And as a reminder, we will be limiting all testifiers to 2 minutes each. Testifiers are encouraged to summarize their positions and submit more comprehensive testimony in writing. BPS, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide support testimony for AB 31?
Thank you, Chair Donate. To testify in support on Assembly Bill 31, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 580. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I'm Paul Enos. I am the CEO of the Nevada Trucking Association, testifying today in support of Assembly Bill 31. Diesel exhaust fluid is something that every diesel engine from 2010 onward is required to have. After the emissions come out of the engine, they go into a diesel particulate matter, and then you spray that diesel exhaust fluid on that, and then through a selective catalytic reduction process, the only thing coming out of that stack is nitrogen and water. And it's very important to make sure that that depth is correct, because if you don't have it, or if you don't have the right stuff, it will shut down the engine on a truck. So we really do appreciate the department bringing this bill forward. I do understand there is an amendment that may be adding a current tax onto diesel. At this point, we do not have a position on that, but we can support the bill as it stands today. Thank you very much.
We are currently on support testimony on Assembly Bill 31. If you have joined the call and would like to testify in support, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you so much, BPS. Next, we will go ahead and move on to testimony in opposition. I believe we have someone in the audience, so please proceed.
Chair Donate, members of the Senate Committee on Natural Resources, I'm Peter Kruger, the state executive of the Nevada Petroleum Marketers and Convenience Store Association, which is a statewide trade group representing petroleum wholesalers and retailers here in Nevada. Our association is in favor of the bill. However, as you're aware, standing rules require that because I am proposing an amendment to speak in opposition. So my purpose here today to offer this amendment is one that we agree or feel strongly that the petroleum fee, the inspection fee for more than 50 years has been levied at 55 mils, and 55 mils is not a lot of money, but of course, when you're dealing with large numbers of gallons, it does add up. So currently, the inspection fee is levied against gasoline and lubricating oils. And this has been true for at least 50 years in the market. But diesel fuel, as I'm suggesting to include, has never been part of the inspection fee. It was only, again, gasoline and lubricating oils. The marketing of lubricating oils has changed over the last 50 years. It used to be that oils for your automobile and tractor and anything else were sold by jobbers. Those were wholesalers in the community. But now the market has changed, and a vast, I won't say majority because I don't know, but a vast amount of lube oils, lubricating oils, are sold in big box stores, in auto parts places, even grocery stores. I know you've all seen, walking down the aisle of a grocery store, a display of quarts of motor oil. So that part of the market has never been picked up by the Department of Motor Vehicles for imposition of the tax. And I agreed. I've had many conversations over the years with both the Department of Agriculture and Motor Vehicles about this subject, because it really, for us, and the reason I'm here, is a fairness issue. The tax, or the fee, it really is a fee, but a fee is a tax, is levied against petroleum wholesalers because they're already licensed by the Department of Motor Vehicles to pay the other taxes on gasoline, diesel fuel, and everything else. What's not included are the hundreds of other retail outlets that sell lubricating oils. So what I want to do, or am suggesting here, is to remove the inspection fee from lubricating oils. Therefore, it frees up a provision in the law that is, quite honestly, I believe, unenforceable. And then adds diesel fuel, which, as I indicated before, has never been part of the inspection fee. And we think this strikes a fair balance between enforcement of the statute and maintenance of the inspection program that the Department of Agriculture labs that are located both in Sparks and in Las Vegas. To try to drive the point home that this inspection fee and process is important to fuels and lubricating oils, is that we have a situation occurring in northern Nevada as we sit here that goes back about 2 or 3 months, where petroleum marketers discovered some kind of I'll call it a goo for a lack of a better word, some kind of a substance in the diesel fuel filters, and they were clogging the filters, and this affects fuel, and really it's the last stop before the fuel goes into the vehicle. So this particulate, or this matter, was being stopped and prevented from going into the engines. But it's a way of illustrating that diesel fuels are a recipient of the hours and hours and efforts conducted by the Sparks in this case, or the Las Vegas lab, to be sure that fuels and lubricating oils, antifreeze, and DEF, now if this bill were to pass, be included in part of the, not DEF for the inspection fee, but for the process that the department goes through. So it's not just a fee collection mechanism, and I'm not here to address the fee. I'm here one about fairness. And again, to indicate to you, and my final point is that petroleum marketers that sell lube oils in bulk, 5-gallon and larger containers, sometimes rail cars, from the mines for virtually anybody, are paying for that fee. Now, I believe that the number, and Ms. Matievich can correct if I'm correct or incorrect, but that annual fee is about $700,000 today. I think there's a number from the, and maybe we'll hear from motor vehicles, that the only amount of fee collected from the lubricating piece of that is something like $3,700. Well, that's the people other than jobbers or wholesalers. Those would be the people that are not, it sounds like one or two are paying, but everybody else is escaping it. So my point being, and we support the bill, but we feel this amendment in fairness is needed, and we would ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kruger. I want to give the chance to my committee members if anyone has any questions for him, since he is here. If you want to ask anything, Senator Goycochea.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Kruger, then I guess because by nature DAP is sold in gas stations, Walmart, you can buy it. Are you proposing then we exempt that as well?
I hadn't, Mr. Chairman, to you, to Senator Goycochea, I had not thought, that would be necessary with the idea of if the committee was to look favorable upon this amendment, that would leave these other products out, and that would, of course, include DEF. I don't believe that the Department of Motor Vehicles, the collection agency, would have any more luck collecting on the sale of DEF than we do on quarts of motor oil.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Kruger, just for a quick clarification, was there a reason why this amendment wasn't brought forward with the Assembly side, or was it just because of timing?
Mr. Chairman, the reason is that I had hoped that we could work without legislation on this matter, and unfortunately, we're at kind of a stalemate. And I do have to agree and with the Department of Motor Vehicles that the amount of time and effort to go after these other retailers just doesn't make sense. So the fee is needed, and I'm hopeful the way we get to it is to eliminate these lubricating oils and adapt diesel fuel.
Great, thank you, sir. Any other questions? Senator Hansen?
Thanks, Peter. You and I talked about it a little earlier, and you kind of hit on it, but you're going from 700,000, you're adding another 500,000. What's the actual need, and where did you come up with 500,000? Since that's the estimated revenue, that's just a 71% increase over your current $700,000 budget.
Mr. Chairman, to you, to Senator Hansen. Sir, the numbers are not mine. To my knowledge, they came from both the Department of Motor Vehicles. As far as the use, really, I don't mean to put off my answer to you, but really, again, would be a function of the Department of Agriculture on the use. They would be the receiving of the funds. I just know that with this current example I gave you about plugged diesel filters, this is the inspection fee and the work that's done by motor vehicles is important, and without it, we have no real, in my judgment, standard for fuels.
I got it. Well, fortunately, we have the Department of Ag here, so maybe they can say where they, because essentially, as I do the math on this, comes out to about another $500, about $500,000. You currently get $700,000. Where'd you guys come up with the need for an additional $500,000? I mean, you guys adding staff, or what's the intent here?
I believe that question was directed to Ms. Matievich.
It is.
Yep.
I think. Are you ready to handle that one?
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, through you, Mr. Chair, to Senator Hansen. So if I may, just a little bit of historical collection information. In fiscal year 20, the department received $732,000 from this fee. We do pay a 1% commission out of those receipts to the DMV to collect and administer the fee on our behalf. So we do have some expenses there. NRS 561-412 specifies that the fees received for this must be used to carry out the provisions of Chapter 581, 582, 590.010, so 59 through 590.330. So essentially, the duties of the Division of Consumer Equitability. As far as coming up with a number, again, this is not the Department of Agriculture's amendment. We certainly would consider it to be friendly and appreciate the examples that have been given today about the work that the department does with respect to enforcement and analytics related to diesel fuel. Currently, the fee is only being collected on gasoline, and so it is the wholesalers of gasoline that are paying for those services that are being provided across the full multitude of the product. If we were to receive the additional revenue, I'm not certain that it would be as much as $500,000. It could be, frankly, I would need to ask for the Department of Motor Vehicles to do that calculation. Rough estimations using some reports that we received from them indicate probably somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000. Those would go to continue ongoing work in our division. We have significant need for capital replacement of instruments and other equipment that we use to perform these duties. If this amendment were to be received favorably and end up passing through, I would suggest that perhaps an effective date on that portion later than the effective date on the rest of the bill would be appropriate, as I believe that the DMV would likely have some work to do in programming in their software system. And so likely for us in the upcoming biennium, these funds would go into our reserves, and we would look to come either with a work program to get legislative approval on how those funds were to be spent, or we would program them into our budget for the following biennium, and again, look for the governor's approval and legislative approval on those budgets.
I got it. I never had any agency that had any problem finding ways to spend money, so I got that. Normally, though, when you increase the people that are paying the tax, the concept is as you spread it out, the number actually drops that they have to pay. So that's why this is a little unusual. And while I understand that gas people are picking up the tab disproportionately for the diesel people, if you're going to expand the people that pay, it would seem that the rate could perhaps come down. Seems like what we're doing here, we're just throwing more people into that same pool, so you're expanding the dollars, but it's not really based on an automatic demand that you guys need now. It sounds like, well, when you get it, you're going to be able to figure out how to spend an additional $500,000, which I believe, but I'm just kind of wondering if the rate could perhaps, now that you're spreading it among a bunch of different consumers of fuels, that rate could perhaps be averaged out. Anyway, just thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Senator. Any other questions? Senator Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Has DMV weighed in on what the cost to reprogram their processes for collection would be? I've gotten a chance to look at quite a few DMV budgets, and there's nothing they can do to change how they do anything that doesn't come with a pretty good price tag.
Chair, to you, to Senator Brooks. I have been in communication with the director, Ms. Butler. She had said to me this morning that they would be neutral but offer a fiscal note. So I don't know, but I expect, and you're correct, that programming has been indicated would be an expense.
Thank you so much. Senator Goycochea.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And then I'm just going to go back to one other piece, and that's heating oil and/or red fuel. If in fact that's going to be captured in this, typically red fuel doesn't pay road tax. So are you going to try and capture that? How? And then heating oil clearly doesn't.
Chair, to you, to Senator Goycochea. Red dye diesel, which is a tax-exempt product used by agriculture, it's an off-road product. Mines use it anywhere where a vehicle is driven off the highway system is exempt from road tax, and this as well. So this would not include red dye diesel. And as far as heating oil, I did some checking, and the use of heating oil in Nevada is confined to northern Nevada in a very small market anymore. And the difficulty is, and the reason it's in this bill, is that there is no product really defined as heating oil. It's diesel number 2. And so consequently, the issue is, I'm sure at a very high cost, the Department of Motor Vehicle could break out that little bit. But again, it's a declining source of heat, a generation of heat. So it's there, and we think it's really not a number that it's de minimis.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? No? Thank you so much, Mr. Kruger. BPS, let's go ahead and continue with opposition testimony if anyone's on the phone lines for this bill.
Thank you, Chair. We are currently on opposition testimony on Assembly Bill 31. If you have joined the call and would like to testify in opposition, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much, BPS. Is there anyone willing to testify in neutral on AB 31?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 31, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 230. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
I believe that's me. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Please proceed with your testimony.
Okay. Good afternoon, committee members. For the record, my name is John Neese, DMV Motor Carrier Administrator. And with regards to this proposed amendment to AB 31, the DMV takes a neutral position. And to answer your question, there will be programming changes required to our motor carrier fuel tax reporting software, which we use for fuel tax collection and distribution. We are currently assessing that impact, and we will provide a fiscal note as soon as we can get that information. I would give you some statistics because I heard some conversation back and forth here, and so I asked for these statistics from our team. In fiscal year 20, gross collections of inspection fees for all products was $731,953. The fiscal year 20 lube oil, we had $6,855,000 978 gallons. And at a 55 mil charge, that equates to only $3,771 per year. So it's pretty minuscule. I can't give you a position on it, but I think this would be eliminated according to the amendment. Diesel fuel, we import 903,994,903 gallons. If we were to add the 55 mil fee to that, it would add $497,197. That would be per year. I can't, at this point, I can't really tell you the programming impact. My gut feeling is it's not huge. So we'll provide a fiscal note and work with Mr. Kruger to provide that. Thank you.
Chair, the public line is open and working, and there are no additional callers at this time.
Thank you so much, BPS. Ms. Matievich, do you have any last minute remarks?
For the record, Cadence Matievich, Mr. Chairman, I do not appreciate the opportunity to present the bill to you today, and certainly I'm willing to work with all the parties as the amendment is considered, and if there's anything you or your committee need, as always, please do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. All right, I will go ahead and close the hearing on AB 31. And once again, the committee will not be taking action on AB 31 today, but it may bring it back for a future work session. We can go ahead and proceed with Assembly Bill 34. So I will go ahead and open the hearing on AB 34, which revises provisions governing the control of pests, weeds, and pesticides. I believe we have Ashley Jepson, Administrator for the Plant Industry Division, State Department of Agriculture. And we also have Megan Brown, Deputy Administrator of the Plant Industry Division, State Department of Agriculture, if they would like to go ahead and proceed with AB 34. So please proceed.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chairman Donante and members of the committee. For the record, Ashley Jepson. I'm the Plant Industry Administrator for the Nevada Department of Agriculture. As you can see, this bill has quite a few moving pieces, so I'll try to give as high level an overview as possible, and I'm happy to provide any additional information. So NRS 555, it encompasses our noxious weeds enforcement program in addition to our nursery registration and enforcement. The bulk of what this bill is involving changes pertains to our pesticide applicator compliance and enforcement program and getting that up to par with the new Code of Federal Regulations. Sections 1 through 4, that pertains specifically to updating a couple of the definitions, one pertaining to our pesticide program and the rest pertaining to our noxious weeds program. Section 5 includes one minor change to our nursery program and a provision that would allow us to, for marketing and sale to be included through online sales and not just limited to catalogs. So trying to get that in current marketplace conditions. Section 6 through 26 pertains to our pesticide applicator compliance and enforcement program. And as I mentioned, trying to get that in adherence to Code of Federal Regulations. So section 1 through 4 pertaining to our noxious weeds program, it's including, it's further defining actual control of noxious weeds. So we want to make sure that the measure of control is specific to the species. Sometimes they'll spread through different means, different propagated parts. So that definition will allow us to handle those compliance situations better and make sure folks that are taking action on those noxious weed species are doing so appropriately with the specific species. It's also defining propagated parts, as that is a significant means of how they're actually continuing to spread. So making sure that that's clearer, more transparent as to the expectations within the noxious weeds program. As mentioned, I'm jumping ahead. We also are further defining NISMA. So that's the North American Invasive Species Management Association, and that's the standards that we use for our weed-free certification program. So that language is actually being included in there for our weed-free certification program. We operate under those specific standards in providing that weed-free forage and weed-free gravel program. And that's a voluntary service to help with weed spread mitigation in our state, specific to noxious weeds, excuse me. As mentioned, pertaining to our nursery program, there's one minor change in Section 5, just adding via the internet to exemptions for the sale of nursery stock. Now, the bulk of our changes pertain to Sections 6 through 26 involving our pesticide compliance and enforcement program. There were changes to the federal requirements pertaining to competency standards. And the changes pertaining to those were specific to our restricted use pesticides. Those tend to be higher risk, more of public environmental health concerns, so they require specific competency standards and higher level to make sure that they're being applied in a safe manner to safeguard health and environmental health as well. Mind you that there's a lot of cleanup in this section. It's difficult for agency folks and members of the public to navigate these regulations. So as we were trying to get it up to par with federal requirements, we were also trying to clean up the language. It's hard to navigate on where people would fall in terms of certification and licensure, whether they're doing so on a government basis, whether they're an actual for-hire entity, or if they're just applying something on their farm. So we try to redefine the language a little bit better so it's easier for them to navigate. And also, we want to make sure that the testing that we are implementing is appropriate to the pesticides that the individual would be applying or the company would be applying. So there's cleanup language there as well. You'll see we have redefined private, non-private, and authorized commercial license. And these are the specific criteria specific to that restricted use pesticide. There was an amendment put forward by the department to clean up some of that language because it would have created additional testing and more stricter testing for people that are just doing for-hire general use pesticides. So there was some cleanup there, and I just wanted to provide that clarification. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to provide any questions you may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jepson. Do we have any questions from any of the committee members on the legislation? Senator Goycochea.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm just concerned and trying to skim through the bill quickly, but you say it would put additional requirements then on, let's say, an applicator that was a farmer or rancher that was a certified applicator. This wouldn't change his status at all, would it? I mean, he would still have the ability to apply pesticides or herbicides on his own property with the certification.
For the record, Ashley Jepson, through you, Chairman, to Senator Goycochea. So I apologize if I misspoke. It would not impose any additional requirements. What I was, and I probably went into the weeds a little bit too much there. What I was specifying is we wanted to make sure it was really clear that if somebody's just applying general use pesticides, that the test they get if they're doing for-hire work is reflective of that versus somebody that's doing restricted use pesticides, the higher risk ones, the tests would be reflective of that. So we wouldn't have somebody having to meet that higher standard for restricted use pesticides that's just doing general use. So for context there, but more specific to your question, for a rancher that might be applying pesticides, they would just need certification if they're doing restricted use pesticides. That's federal requirement. And so yes, they would have to secure that license, but similar to what we've done in the past.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Any other questions? I don't see none, so thank you, Ms. Jepson. Let's go ahead and proceed with testimony. So next we will go to the phone lines to continue testimony. As a reminder, we will be limiting all testifiers to 2 minutes each, and testifiers are encouraged to summarize their positions and submit more comprehensive testimony in writing. BPS, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide support testimony for AB 34?
Thank you, Chair Donate. The public line is open and working. However, there are no colors at this time.
Thank you so much. BPS, is there anyone wishing to provide testimony in opposition to AB 34?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working, and there are no colors at this time.
Thank you so much. And finally, last but not least, is there anyone wishing to testify in neutral on AB 34?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. However, there are no colors at this time.
All right. Ms. Jepson, do you have any closing remarks or are you good?
For the record, Ashley Jepson. No, I just appreciate the opportunity to present the bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. All right. At this time, I will go ahead and close the hearing on AB 34. Again, the committee will not be taking any action on AB 34 today, but it may bring it back for a future work section. Let's keep going. We have Assembly Bill 74, so I will go ahead and open the hearing on Assembly Bill 74. This measure revises provisions relating to pesticides. I believe we also have Ms. Ashley Jepson, Administrator of Plant Industry Division of the State Department of Agriculture, who is on Zoom ready to present this bill. So please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Donate and members of the committee. For the record, Ashley Jepson. This AB 74 is much simpler than our previous bill. Really, we're just making one change to get this language up to standard with the Code of Federal Regulations. And that requires that those selling pesticides, restricted use pesticides specifically, need to record the sale and distribution of those pesticides. So I just want to provide a little clarification that that only pertains to the actual end user of the pesticide. It's not perhaps a dealer selling to a dealer or a wholesale to a retailer. It would be to the end user is the intent there. And again, that's per CFR. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jepson, for that short presentation. Any questions from any of the committee members? I don't see any, so we can keep going. All right. Let's go ahead and proceed. I think we will go ahead and go to the phone lines to continue testimony. So as a reminder, we will be limiting all testifiers to 2 minutes each. And testifiers are encouraged to summarize their positions and submit more comprehensive testimony in writing. So, BPS, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide support testimony for AB 74?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much, BPS. Is there anyone wishing to provide testimony in opposition?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working, and there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, BPS, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide testimony in neutral on AB 74?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working, and there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. I think we're good. So with that, I'll go ahead and close the hearing on AB 74. Thank you again, Ms. Jepson, for that presentation. And again, the committee will not be taking any action on AB 74 today, but it may bring it back for a future work session. So thank you to the committee. And last but not least, we have reached the end of our bills for today. So Assembly Bill 75, I'll go ahead and open the hearing on AB 75. This measure revises provisions relating to weights and measures. Looks like we're welcoming back Ms. Cadence Matievich, Administrator of the Division of Consumer Equitability, State Department of Agriculture, to present AB 75. So please proceed.
Once again, good afternoon, Chairman Donate and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Cadence Matievich, and I'm the Administrator for the Division of Consumer Equitability at the Nevada Department of Agriculture. Thank you for the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 75 to you today. Like my colleague, Ms. Jepson, I hope my second bill will be a little quicker than my first. As with other bills presented by the Department of Agriculture today, Assembly Bill 75 is meant to help achieve the department's strategic goal of modernizing our statutory and regulatory framework. This bill pertains to Chapter 581 of Nevada Revised Statutes, which governs weights and measures. The provisions of this bill are intended to align Nevada's weights and measures laws with the uniform laws and regulations established by the Standard and Technologies Office of Weights and Measures, also known as NIST OWM. Sections 2 through 4 of the bill add definitions for certain physical standards used in the installation, adjustment, repair, or calibration of weighing and measuring devices, and establishes applicable uses of those standards. Section 5 of the bill provides that the presence of a field reference standard in the possession of any person who is paid to install, make adjustment to, repair, or calibrate commercial weighing and measuring equipment creates a rebuttable presumption that the standard is being used for such purpose. The addition of this presumption will assist the agency in enforcing the requirement that any standard used in the installation, adjustment, repair, or calibration of commercial weighing and measuring equipment must be certified by a laboratory that has been qualified by NIST OWM. Sections 6, 7, and 8 make conforming changes to NRS 581.001, 581.065, and 581.067 to include the words and terms newly established in sections 2 and 3 of the bill. Additionally, Section 8 eliminates the duty of the State Sealer of Consumer Equitability to establish requirements for the information relating to open dating of packaged foods. Open dating information includes such terms as sell by, use by, best before, and the like. In July of 2019, the National Conference on Weights and Measures voted to remove open dating of packaged foods from within the scope of the responsibility for weights and measures officials and deleted it from the uniform regulations contained in NIST Handbook 130, effective January 1, 2022. This amendment to NIST Handbook 130 came about because it was believed that this subject matter area is more appropriately regulated by health and food safety officials rather than weights and measures regulators. Section 9 is intended to clarify that the rebuttable presumption that a weight, measure, or weighing or measuring device present in or about a place from which buying or selling is commonly carried on is regularly used for the commercial business purposes of that place. The addition to the term commercial will assist the agency in enforcing the requirement that any weighing or measuring device being used for a commercial purpose must be licensed by the State Sealer of Consumer Equitability as commercial weighing and measuring equipment. Section 10 makes conforming changes to NRS 561.412 to include all fees and other money collected pursuant to sections 2 to 5 of this bill within those funds which must be deposited in the state treasury and credited to a separate account in the state general fund for use by the Department of Agriculture. And section 11 sets forth the effective date of the bill. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions from any of the committee members? Senator Goycochea?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I just want a clarification from Cadence. When we talk about transfer standards, again, I'm assuming you're talking about the little cement blocks you forklift in and out of a scale, and or if it was a repairman that would have the same capability. Is that what we're talking about with transfer standards?
For the record, Cadence Matievich, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Senator Goycochea, yes. Field reference standards, I think, are really mostly what you're talking about. They are, they can be volume-proving devices or weights, individual weights. They could be very small weights, very large weight carts. Those are field reference standards. A transfer standard is something that would be used for a very short duration. There are limited exceptions in the NIST OWM guidelines where transfer standards would be used, but more commonly used are those field reference standards that our own weights and measures inspectors use when confirming the accuracy of devices, and that registered service agents that install, repair, or adjust devices use.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? No? All right. I think we're good. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and proceed to the phone lines to continue testimony. So as a reminder, we will be limiting all testifiers to 2 minutes each, and please submit any more comprehensive testimony in writing to us. So BPS, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide testimony in support of AB 75?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone wishing to provide testimony in opposition?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working, and there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much, BPS. And last but not least, is there anyone wishing to testify in neutral on AB 75?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working, and there are no callers at this time.
All right. Seeing that we don't have any more further comments, I think we're good to close the hearing. So I'll go ahead and close the hearing on AB 75. And again, the committee will not be taking any action on this bill today, but it may bring it back for a future work session. So again, thank you to the committee members and to Ms. Matievich for your presentation today. All right, so before we conclude, let's go ahead and proceed with public comment. So I will go ahead and call for public comment. Please remember to limit your comments to 2 minutes. Is there anyone in the room? So there's no one in the room, but is there anyone on the phone line? Oh. Do we have anyone wishing to provide public comment on the phone lines?
Thank you, Chair Donate. The public line is open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much, BPS. Members, any comments before we adjourn? No, that was a pretty smooth meeting for 4 bills. So, our next meeting will be on Tuesday, April 27th at 3:30 p.m. This meeting is now adjourned.